It's the time for the package from China. Let's go! Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. So in this video, I just wanted to check out this H6 4K Ultra Game box. I've reviewed a lot of these boxes, but I was quite excited to check this one out. This is a brand new product as I'm making this video, and I think that when I ordered it, I needed to even wait because they needed to do a lot of reconfiguration. This thing comes with the S905X3, and it is quite okay. So one of those more like faster chips you can get in game boxes. But what does it mean when it comes to emulation? Let's talk about that too. Okay, so the first thing that I found quite interesting is the shape of the box. It's something completely different. So there was not a lot of information on the box besides that this like with, let's say, thing that you need to be careful about some certain things. But when you're looking at the back, here we're going to see like the differences. So this device needs to be on top of your monitor if you want to, or you can also like put them on the bottom. The style, I really like it. Also, it comes with them different controllers. And when I say the controllers, let's talk about it first, because that is quite interesting. So we're not going to get ourselves the typical PlayStation 2 knockoff chemical controllers. No, we're going to get ourselves knockoff controllers of the Xbox One. And I must say, like, this is not to be compared with the original quality. This is like feeling really cheap. I think there's not even rumble in these things. But when you're looking at the overall quality, especially when you joysticks, and it feels so much better than your PlayStation controls. I'm a big fan of the Xbox controller, so I'm very happy to begin with. So the feel is absolutely cheap. The trigger feels okay. You got like this cheap feel to it. We do have like the A, B, and X and Y buttons. They are like also very long travel but cheap feel to it. The D-pad feels clickish but feels very nice. We do have a mode, select start, and some 2 extra buttons. The joystick, that's where we're going to get like the most impressive thing of these knuckles controllers. You got this very nice, like nice original controller touch to it, but also the joysticks feel very nice. I think the best feature of this controller is basically the shell and the joysticks. But okay, so let's look at the system itself. So in today's video, we're not going to get ourselves like a remodeled or an old TV box slapped in a new case. No, this is something completely different. Okay, but let's take a close look at the console. To begin with, this thing is very lightweighted, so I'm curious with the teardown, what are we going to get in the inside? That's absolutely something we're going to do. This thing 4K Ultra HD, but take consideration the games and everything runs on native resolution most of the times, so we're not going to even use or getting it close to the 4K. It's just basically like the game box, but there is no like showing what kind of model it is. What you're going to get over here is basically the extra unit at the bottom, so we can position it on top of the television and just leave it there. Quite interesting concept, something you didn't see before. Okay, so here we're going to get ourselves the CF card. Take consideration like they are using kind of weird brands that I've seen before or didn't. So this is an unique brand, or they get themselves like the unique own label. Take consideration backup these things, because if it's getting corrupted somehow, you always have a backup. And you can just upgrade it with a different or better SD card. So what we're going to get more is an HDMI connection. Do have 2 USB ports for the controllers, and then of course the input Type-C. Alright, so let's take a close look in the box, because I completely forgot to show you something. So of course we're going to get ourselves a Type-C cable and have an HDMI like your normal typical quality. They did provide you a manual, or this time it's not like really toilet paper manual, it's a very nice deluxe one. Gives you an explanation what the menu looks and how everything works. So that is a very nice thing. There is only no power supply. And I think the reason is this thing works on 5 volts. So the idea behind this, like 2 amps, you can plug in this cable in your television. I really recommend it. I would say grab yourself like a normal, let's say, phone charger. They are not very expensive. And before I forget, also a 2.0 card reader. It's always handy. But 2.0, come on man, who uses that? So what I do like that we're going to get ourselves 1 dongle and 2 controllers configuration. So that means if you're going to buy yourself like an extra pair, you only need to have like 1 USB connection for the other dongle, and you can just play with freaking 4 players. Otherwise you need to have like a USB hub and it's going to be like dangling all around. I really hate that. Okay, so I must say that I'm using a very old school monitor over here, but let's try this out. Let's see how this fits. So it fits very well. And the reason why I really like it, so when you're looking at this over here, we're going to get all kinds of rubber to protect it for scratching, and also gives you like an extra grip. So let's plug it on the television. I just think it's pretty damn cool. But let's take a close look at the software itself. So this is not your typical Emulation/TV Android box that they made. This is something unique, beside the point that you can put this thing on top of your television. I think it looks pretty cool, and maybe this will be one of these boxes that you can use very often. And yeah, I'll have this box in the way, and it doesn't look that bad either way. Alright, so let's take a close look at the software itself. It's a typical software that I've seen before, only slightly different and not in a good way. So at the right part, what you can see over here, we do have the naming, but it scrolls from left to right, and it's a little bit of a difficult thing to read and search for your game, simply because not everything has been displayed. For example, having here F0X. So F0X is a short name, so you can read it, but like say all the other ones, you need to wait for it to start scrolling. A little bit of a bummer. So next up, we do have history, or basically what you have played before. Then we have the collection, says fire, or better said like the favorites. We do have the search function. Let's see how this actually works. Let's see how this works. It works a little bit slow in my opinion. Alright. And then we do have like the category, and here we have like a quick overview of what we can play with it. They're even like freaking 3 pages. Or that's what it's saying. There it is. And let's take a close look. What can we play? Okay, so the first page we have PlayStation Portable, PlayStation 1 and 64, Game Boy Classic, MAME, Famicom, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Classic, the Mega Drive or Genesis. Then we have Super Famicom, Atari 2600, 7800. Then we have like Mega Drive, Game Gear, Neo Geo Pocket. So even PC Engine in here, and I have another SNES. I think like there's a problem with like basically double SNES list, but they're like different regions. So it's a little bit confusing and a little bit messy. But what is interesting, pressing select in the main menu brings you to the settings. So here we can change out the freaking language to begin with. So the weird thing is like it has been set to English, but there's even like some European languages and like Dutch, Deutsch, kind of interesting to be honest. But the only thing I have noticed, like you see the bottom row over there still has been set to not English. So that's a little bit of a bummer. But another thing I do like is view native files, so you can just mess around with it. Don't do that too much. If you delete something, you mess it up. Here you can change out the sound effects. I'm going to put it on mute. The thing is like we do have full screen and equal scale mode, or nevertheless, we do have original aspect ratio. Then we're going to set it on because I want to see if that works. About the native information or the system information. So this is basically the first version they've released. Okay, so let's go to the exit setup and let's see what we're going to get with some gameplay. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to boot up is PlayStation Portable. You can see like somehow it doesn't always shows it, but it seems to be showing the on-screen input. Press the mode button. Here we can go to settings. Frame skip has been set to 1, what you can see over here. I'm not surprised because these things are too underpowered for playing it on full speed. But let's see if we can get rid of the freaking like... Yeah, show FPS counter please. That's also something I wanted to do. And let's see if I can go into the controls and change out that we can get rid of the on-screen controls. Yep, there he is. Alright, continue. And there we have it. Alright, so let's take a close look at some gameplay. There is no music. Kind of interesting. This is the first time actually that I don't have this game with some music. Okay, so we do have like 30 FPS. Alright, so let's see how far it drops down. 22. Yeah, so you know, these boxes are not great to place on PlayStation Portable. There will be games playable, but... And this is even like trading stage. If you're going to get on stage with a lot of stuff going on in the background, you're going to have like pretty now horrible emulation performance. But take consideration, I'm playing two-dimensional games. There are some games that will run okay. Okay guys, so next up let's play some PlayStation 1. And I must say like, these devices are more than powerful enough to run PlayStation 1. Doesn't matter what you throw at it, this is done Wipeout. But basically if you're going to get yourself on Bloody Roar 2, if you configure it correctly with the right emulator, it works just fine. Downside is there is no background music and didn't shut it down, it was like as is. And the only thing I do is like put a different file on it. Because this is something they also do, like removing the soundtracks. Maybe it's dual space. They're thinking like slap up the games without music, save some games space and just add some new games to it. It's kind of interesting to see like they doing this all the freaking time. Pressing the mode button, what you're going to get is an option to have a quick load, quick save over here. Mess around with the controls, because this is basically running on the same software that I've seen before with a Powkiddy mini arcade machine. Okay, so next up, N64. But even this is an S905X3, it's not powerful enough to run every single N64 game. We need to have like a mini PC. You can even see some weird glitches going on. You can hear it stutters. If you can't hear it, I tell you, it stutters like crazy. Wow. But this is the thing, like, why should you even like bother adding stuff to it that doesn't run anyway? Oh, there we go. Oh, and there it was. So let's go back all the way to the beginning. Alright. Let's see how that plays. Let's see if they messed the part up. But so far so good. I don't see any screen tearing whatsoever. So when you're going back all the way to NES, it seems to be working just fine. Alright, so let's see what happens when we're going to try some Neo Geo. So far so good, what you can see over here. Okay, so let's take a close look at Genesis, just for fun, and I already killed myself. But so far I can hear and see the game runs very well. Spread out, baby! Okay, I do see some glitching going on. That is not a good thing. So at the left and right part of the screen also something weird is going on. But beside the glitching, it seems to be working just fine. But I can say like the controls are completely like messed up. Oh yeah, they used some weird version. Okay guys, so unfortunate there is no Mortal Kombat testing because they didn't implement this on here. So let's try another thing. So basically these things are pretty damn cool if you want to use it for an arcade box. But for your typical main game, this thing runs perfectly. Don't notice any weird lag. Controls play very nice. Also the D-pad is very comfortable for the beat 'em ups. Alright, so let's try the Splatterhouse on the PC Engine. This is a system you don't see very often, especially on the cheaper boxes. But also like with all the other stuff, the 16-bit, 8-bit stuff, it runs pretty damn good. Like Famicom, the Mega Drive. Okie dokie. So when it comes to the performance, this is basically what we're going to get and what I already was expecting. It is not like your super beefcake device, and the S903 or the S905 X3, what is staying on the box is just the one that you can find in a lot of boxes nowadays. The only thing I found quite interesting, they didn't went for the Emulation approach, they went for like the products or the Linux kind of versions we have seen before on some other devices, including some arcade boxes. Yeah, and the downside to that is that we do miss out a lot of features and a lot of cool stuff that you can play with Emulation. So there's a little bit of a bummer, but maybe that doesn't spoil the fun because we can still play a lot on it. So let's remove all of the screws and let's open it up. Alright, I managed to get all of the screws loose. Oh, okay. So let's see, so this device has been made, let's zoom in a little bit so you can see, it's been made in 2022. So this thing is absolutely 100% new. Yeah, and the reason I just wanted to show you this is that sometimes you find these products on AliExpress. They claim they're new, but they are not. Alright, so next up, let's remove the other screws that holds the main board in place, and let's see how they made the construction when it comes to cooling. Because that's just a general problem with these boxes, that you're never going to get a lot of cooling. You can feel that the PCB is quite hot up to the point here. It's not like it's too hot that you cannot even touch it. So that's not that problem. Oh man, there are a lot of screws in this thing. So I must say that construction wise, they did an amazing job with putting a lot of screws in. I managed finally to get all of the screws loose. So let's pull this thing out. Okay, so this is basically what it is. So we do get like 2 plastic shells, and here we have the mainboard itself. So construction wise, it's quite interesting. Very nice board to look at. Okay, so can we remove this? Yes, we can. So let's remove that too. Just to see what kind of chip they are using underneath. Yep, okay, so the double-sided tape comes loose. Oh, not really. And they were not lying, because they are indeed using the Logic S905 X3. Yeah, and again, like, it's a quite interesting story. They didn't use Emulation, they just went for this approach. So this is a W8 version 1.0, 2022, 04/16. So when it was basically made. Okay, wait, I have this thing on my hand. So I must say, like, when you're looking at the configuration, I don't know exactly how much RAM it is, but I'm guessing it will be like a 1 GB or something like that. Maybe later on I can look it up. But in the end, what you're going to get is the same configuration that I've seen many times before, only they are using a completely different kind of software, also with the layout. But okay guys, so what do I think of it? So to begin with, I really like the approach of the case. It's something new. Not really exciting, but just something new. When you're looking at the way how they made it, it's fairly cheap, the cooling is minimal, and it is something I was more like, add a fan to it, a little bit better cooling. Especially if you want to use this thing for years and many hours of gaming fun. The controllers are way better than the PlayStation 1, so that is absolutely a big improvement. Still feel cheap, but it's better than a non-working chemical PlayStation 2 controller. The overall performance, yeah, the layout, I say the software is a little bit outdated if you ask me. They could do a way better job at that, but beside that, this thing is not super bad. Unfortunately, we don't have the same like support of platforms like with Emulation, so we do have some limitation there, and yeah, emulation performance and 64 PlayStation Portable, yeah, same story I've seen before. Well, thank you for watching, consider subscribing, hit that little bell, become one of the Wicked family, and I will see you in the next video.